Please give a huge round of applause for Navika Kumar, Group Editor, Times Network, and Editor-in-Chief, Times Now Navbharat. May we please give the lady a huge round of applause as she comes on stage and also introduces our guest. Also, you're wearing a really stunning sari, I have to add.
Probably the only person in Goa in a sari. But that's what happens when you have the Union Minister for Urban Affairs, for Housing and Development, and Petroleum and Natural Gas, who you have to sit with. And I must tell you, he's a cool kind of guy. Just the Goa setting kind of guy when he can actually let his hair down. Put your hands together to welcome Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri right here on stage. Thank you very much, Mr. Hardeep Puri. And we're with this audience here in Goa. And I think most people in the media and the advertising industry who are part of this entire session would like to know what makes the Modi government tick. I mean, we know the politics part of it. But as a minister in the Modi cabinet, how do you assess it? What makes the government tick?
Let me start by thanking you for placing me in front of this very important audience from your point of view, because I believe they are the ones who provide the thousands of crores of advertising that you get.
Not important from your point of view?
No, even more important from my point of view. But let me start saying the importance of the audience from your point of view. Because if you did not have the corporate support which comes through advertising, if you did not have these stakeholders, your ability to transmit your message would be circumscribed. I'm not using strong words. I could say it would be absent. I'm not saying that. Try a channel which has no corporate advertising. Let's find out how they are faring. I have only one complaint. It's not a complaint. It's something that I'm trying to understand. These ladies and gentlemen sitting here spend a lot of money in supporting you. And you occasionally pick up people who don't pay you, like somebody who's starting a startup political system or something, and through your constantly featuring that individual or entity, they acquire oxygen. So I would suggest you introduce a tax, that if I build you up, then you must, if you ever acquire the means of doing so, provide reciprocal support later. It's just a suggestion. You will be increasing your revenue.
You're provoking me.
I am. That's the whole idea.
I'm supposed to be the interviewer here, but you're provoking me. If I begin to impose a tax on the amount of government business and government people we feature, I'm sure your coffers are going to get emptier sooner than later.
Look, there are... Can I request them to just lessen the light which is coming into my
eyes? And वो
head?
कहते हैं ना, democracy में अपनी बात कहने का हमें भी हक है. आप हमारी भी बात कह रहे हो, अपनी भी बात कह रहे हो.
मैं तो आया यहाँ पे इसीलिए हूँ कि आपके सपोर्ट में बोलूँ. मैं और वैसे नहीं आया. Look, let me start by telling you there are two models. I picked up the newspaper in Delhi yesterday, an English language newspaper. It had a full page advertisement. That full page advertisement says, send us your ideas on how to introduce ease of doing business in Punjab. Now, little I know of Punjab and a little more I learned today when they picked up somebody to try to arrest somebody in Delhi, and then it turned into a bit of a dramatic fiasco, and you know that people came back and their policemen are now in Delhi.
We are talking about Tajinder Bagga,
No,
Aam Aadmi Party government.
whoever.
Politics is not something you can refrain from.
No, I cannot. First of all, the choice of words we used. Very often when I joined my career as a civil servant, I was told by people who should have known that you have to be politically neutral. So being a student of the social sciences, I started by saying the very words you employ indicate your biases. And those biases are reflected in your messaging. Now, I keep saying I want to exchange jobs with you. You don't take it up because I suspect you're paid much more. But there is a catch to this. I heard my dear friend, I always have a soft corner for Rahul because when I came back after a long career elsewhere, he was with NewsX. And the first interview I gave to anyone was to him. So when he was waxing eloquent on, let the facts speak for themselves, the student in me said, hey, wait a minute. He's getting a little excited. The facts also have to be given a perspective. One of the first lessons I learned was, what is a fact? Caesar crosses the Rubicon in the year of the Lord, 500, 600, 3,000 years ago, I don't know. It's a fact. But if you say 10,000 people crossed the Rubicon before him and another million people crossed the Rubicon after him, the fact acquires a totally different meaning. So I want to start by paying a compliment that yes, you are taking up social causes, you are taking up public interest issues, but at the end of the day, you're also very responsive to these very eminent people who are sitting here because they provide the economic sustenance which makes you tick. Now comes the relationship between you and us. I mean, we had some slightly jarring statements on what is a politician. I'd like to find out. I mean, I've been in public life now for 39 and 44 years.
And you've seen a lot of hues of politicians.
No, I've seen them.
Inside politics and outside
They come in all shapes and sizes. They come with all kinds of ideological variations. But it's like journalists. Who's a journalist? You are a journalist, and I know a couple of others who are journalists. Now, if we are operating within a certain framework which prescribes an acceptable system of exchanges. Now, let me give you two extremes. One is that the government actually takes what you say very seriously. That's one position A, okay? The other extreme position is that the government actually couldn't be bothered. And I think the truth...
Which one is true? Which
truth,
one is
truth
the fact?
Always lies in between. If you take yourself seriously, you will do messaging of the kind that has an impact. You started by asking the question, what is it that makes the Modi government tick? I think the answer to that will come from an analysis of what happened in 2014 and before that. Between 2004 and 14, you had a government. What did you call it? A Congress-led UPA government. Now, memory is very short. I was a civil servant then, but if you go back to that period, what were the kind of broad associations which you had with that government? Policy paralysis, inaction. When the Prime Minister of the day, Dr. Saab, called a cabinet meeting, some ministers didn't show up. Okay? And I'm sorry to have to say this, if you look at the video clips of the run-up to the 2014 election, some of your most eminent colleagues, distinguished members of the Fourth Estate, what were they doing then? Well, some of them became part of the mainstream discourse, but others carried that irrational, from my point of view, subjective dislike for an individual and made it into a obsession. Okay, now.
No. So the question I want to ask you, after 2014, has the world really become divided into two parts? There is one part which is called the pro-Modi or Modi Bhakt category, and then there is the other lobby, Lutyens circuit, call it what you will.
No, not at all, not at all. I think that's too, that would amount to trivializing it. I think the fundamental change that took place in 2014, when you had a press which was absorbed with itself, you had a press, they were not only commentators, but they were political fixers, many of them. You had a press which tried to set the narrative. I mean, postings and government decisions could be announced before they were taken.
You're not talking about Times Now, because
No,
Times
I'm
Now
talking-
was exposing CWG, 2G,
I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. I'm saying that was the press per se, very powerful press. If you wanted to win an election, you had to reach out to the press, you had to reach out to the thekedars in that press. I could name a few, but they're my friends, and I would...
They're your friends?
Well, I've grown up in the system. It takes all kinds...
You're part of the Lutyen system?
No. I'm a lower middle class product who, through hard work, found himself into Lutyens Delhi now. Now
It's still called Lutyens Delhi,
I don't know
even
what
in
it's
the
called. I don't know.
Modi regime?
I know where I live, but let me tell you, the Prime Minister, when he was he became election in charge, etc. He was Chief Minister of Goa. He decided that if you were going to get this kind of a hostility quotient from the press, go over their head, use social media and go there. Some change started taking place. Today, as against 2004 and 14, the political narrative is defined largely by the fact that the government post-2014 has been able to deliver goods and services on a scale which is unimaginable. And I will take you into those figures if you want to. And that culture
But many people even question today that we are in a situation where hate rules our society, where on Ram Navami or Eid, we see these clashes taking place, where communal agenda is right on top, despite the fact that you've won 4 out of the 5 recent elections, and that's a big feather in the BJP's cap.
I could happily wade into that question, but let me complete it. That 2004 and 14 period, 4 to 14 period, developed a vocabulary all on its own. Overall philosophy of culture of impunity, 2G, CWC, God knows. Let's get into it.
CWC meeting is on Monday.
CWC and CWG have something in common, the first 2 letters. And it was a slip of the tongue, but where it was coming from. Look, very unfortunate incident took place in one of the southern states yesterday, where a young lady who married outside her community.
Nagaraju.
I'm not taking names because then you'll get involved in one of them. Her brothers found the marriage interfaith or interreligious unacceptable and something heinous. Let me start by saying any such incident which has occurred anywhere on any day, Ram Navami or say, I condemn it in the strongest possible terms. And I think these kinds of heinous criminal acts should not take place anywhere, and one such act is one such act too many. So that's where I come from. But let me now cut back. When you cannot match the delivery of goods and services and the transformational change which the Honorable Prime Minister has brought about, then you look for issues. And today the issues that I am looking at, your previous presentation had something about all those people who didn't have oxygen, all those people who needed hospital beds. It's good. You want to take the credit for having shown the public light on those shortcomings. I think that's what society needs, and I accept that. But please also bear in mind what happened, in fact, on the ground. We had a young leader who was saying, Modi ji, hamare bachon ki vaccine kahan hai? 188 crore vaccine doses have been delivered, free. My ministry, the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, has delivered 1,500 PSA oxygen plants, gratis. Money coming from PM Cares. I can then go on in saying the urban spread, as against 1,57,000 crores spent over 10 years between 2004 and 14, we spent 11 times that amount in barely over half the period, in 7 years. Now, Navika, all I say to you is, politics is the art of what is doable. In an ideal situation, I would like a situation where, you know, we had unlimited resources, we had our priorities, absolutely everybody was on an even playing field. No. During those pandemic years, and we're still not out of it, you know, I was with the Honorable Prime Minister on at an event where he was hosting some members of the Sikh community, and we have this langar seva, langar ki sambhavna. And I said to him, I was sitting next to him, and I said, "Aapne to iski नई परिभाषा दे दी, आपने 80 करोड़ लोगों को 2 साल दिन का 3 समय का खाना दिया." This is what has happened. So, what was the politics earlier? What is the politics now? What made the Modi government tick? Let me conclude this part. You had a government between 2004 and 14, which, in terms of its democratic roots, owed, or rather derived political power from a very narrow base. You know what a narrow base is? It was lineage and one family.
The young man you mentioned.
Well, young man or young lady, that's a separate issue. I am merely saying that today, contrast that with the Bharatiya Janata Party, which is the country's largest political party, one of the world's largest perhaps the world's largest political party, 22 crore members or whatever. But the value system is very different from that value system. In the 16 years that Mrs. Gandhi was the president of the Indian National Congress, the BJP already changed president 7 times.
Mr. Hardeep Puri, I want to ask you, you are saying the value systems are different. Every election, you seem to be picking up people from opposition parties. How are you going to keep your party different? I think everybody from Aam Aadmi Party, everybody from TMC, everybody from the Congress Party will now be part of the BJP. So how is the BJP going to be different? Number one. Number two, you keep reviving the young man that you spoke about. Simply because does that opposition suit you better than the opposition that consists of, let's say, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal defeated you in Delhi, in Punjab, and in Delhi, I don't know if even in the next elections or the one after that, the BJP will have any roots to fight that back. And in Bengal as well, high profile, polarized political battle, and Mamata Banerjee didn't allow you the kind of foothold you wanted to have there. So
I know
do you keep the young man alive?
I know where you're taking me. What she wants to know, ladies and gentlemen, is whether our desire for a Congress Mukt Bharat is something we are beginning to regret because we have to deal with Mr. Kejriwal. That's what she's asking in effect. Let me make the submission to you, madam, that we do not want the Congress party to atrophy or to completely disappear. We need an opposition. We need an opposition.
Headed by Rahul Gandhi, not by Kejriwal.
No, listen. If we have an opposition, then the opposition has to decide whether it wants to be led by Rahul Gandhi or Mamata Didi or Mr. Kejriwal or
so why does your party
Sharad
tweet
Pawar.
about party disco pictures of Mr. Rahul Gandhi?
No,
if he's not relevant.
No, which party are you talking about? The political party or the rave party?
I don't know if it was a rave party.
No, I don't know. I don't know. Your channel is showing some screen where there is a particular lady. All that she's doing is drinking from a plastic water bottle, and there's Mr. Gandhi busy with his phone, and I see him something. It looked like a party. It looked like a nightclub, but I don't know what it was. And I, in fact, asked some of my party people, yeah, it was a young man. He's enjoying himself. Karne do.
पर इतने लोगों ने ट्वीट क्यों किया आपकी पार्टी से?
नहीं, which party
उनको
are
क्या
you?
प्रॉब्लम है पार्टी से?
Which party are you talking about? That party or the political party?
you speak of whichever one you want to speak on.
No, no, mine is a very fundamental thing. You asked, why are we allowing ourselves to be put in a situation where people from X parties joining us, Congress are joining us, TMC is joining us, Aam Aadmi Party. But this is what democracy is all about. If I live in Assam, I can move to Telangana. If I live in Telangana, I can move there. If I'm a member of one party, I have a choice to go to the other party. Yes, you would make a very pertinent point if you say, lene se pehle dekh lo thoda sa. That would be a valid point.
So any regrets about the people you picked up so far?
No, a lot of people surprise you. They come saying, we swear by your ideology, then later we discover. I'm not talking about the BJP. BJP people going elsewhere also. After all, it's not because we are the largest party, because we have 300 plus in the Lok Sabha, because we have over 100 in the Rajya Sabha. It is normal laws of physics and politics that if people are unhappy with the organizations in which they are serving, they would want to gravitate towards the BJP. That's understandable.
But the issue that worries people, and I'm talking about people who form part of, let's say, corporate India, people who form part of the middle and upper middle classes, are they not part of India? You are addressing issues of those people who have been given free rations and, have had problems. Fair point. We are a socialist economy and we must look after our poor. But what is the message that you're giving to a larger part of working India, the young people, when you have governance issues that become so central, when there is hate, when there is Hindu-Muslim that's happening in, the narrative all the time?
Why do you think I've come here today? Left all the work I'm doing just to come here because I was told your corporate supporters were going to be here. So I don't want to miss an opportunity to talk to them. No, let me put it like this. Right, left, pro this, anti that, pro this, anti that. These are all slogans. Is ours a typically right-wing government? In many respects, no. I think from Sarvodaya to Antyodaya, the philosophy which is encapsulated in the Sustainable Development Goals to the farthest first, that is the crux of the BJP's philosophy. In many ways, that has undermined or rather taken away the floor from the kind of messaging that even the socialists had, etc. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Ujwala, making 3 meals a day free for 2 years. That's the point. But the more important is, look at your corporate structure. GST collection last month was 1,61,000 crore. 1,61,000 crores, up from 1,41,000 crores. If you look at the corporate tax rates in Indira Gandhi's time, she was the great champion of socialism. They were 90%. Where are they now? You have the lowest corporate taxation structure in the world today. What are we doing to reach out to people? I mean, I'm not talking about my coming here this afternoon to talk to them, but as a government, if you look at all our policies, what are you doing in terms of, we've done in terms of productive processes, semiconductors, health sector, I could go on and on. I think it is not a government which is exclusively focused on the economically weaker section. Yes, they need the help. It is not a government which is focused just on the middle class. Yes, it is. The Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, affordable housing is that. To the corporate sector, absolutely. Privatization. I know, I probably get clobbered elsewhere for what I say here. Did we or did we not revive privatization?
Well, you did. So is 2024 a done deal?
2024? Look, if you are in politics, nothing is a done deal. You should never be complacent. But considering that the party itself is in good shape, considering that we are winning election after election, I would say that the opposition needs to get its act together if it wants to pose a credible challenge in 2024. I'd put it like that. But we have to do our hard work, which we are doing. I mean, the previous election in the 5 states was barely over when we were seeking blessings and looking at the next lot.
And in the meantime, we'll have Punjab Police versus Delhi Police, Haryana Police parachuting in the middle, Kolkata Police versus Delhi Police. Is that how the country is going to be run?
Can I confine myself to the Punjab Police and this political...
Why not Bengal?
No, because I don't know them. The Punjab Police I know a little. Today, we are witnessing a spectacle that a political startup started in Delhi, which is a GST rich state, which has got surpluses. Union Territory of Delhi is one of the richest parts of the country. And look what they've done there. Created world-class models in education and health, the Mohalla clinics, etc. Now they've gone and moved to Punjab, which is a state under great financial stress. Officially they say 2,81,000, 2,81,000 crore debt. It's actually close to 4 lakh crore debt. And misusing police power. They come to Delhi, just anyone that's tweeted somewhere, go and arrest it. I hope you are looking after your tweets.
I've stopped tweeting.
Well, good idea, because you never know. There are parts of the country...
charges can come from any state government or the center.
Anyway, so no, center...
Everybody is trigger happy.
Center is the only part of the country which is supposed to be very strong, which is very, very soft. And today somebody came and arrested somebody from Delhi. And tried to, we stopped him in Haryana and brought him back. But, I don't want to say anything.
कौन बचाएगा? आप अपने बीजेपी वालों को तो बचा लोगे, आम आदमी को कौन बचाएगा?
आपको हम बचाएंगे. Seriously.
Well, I just want to, are you being a little nasty by saying political startup? It's a democratically formed party and it has won election after election in Delhi, I think the third time. And they've won Punjab. You were in the field too. You could have won it. Why didn't you?
I think the election result was not 4-0, it was 5-0. Because the best election result was in Punjab, not because the arm got voted. The others who were responsible for the lack of governance and bad administration, including we as junior partners of the Akali Dal and the Congress, they got voted out. But, electorates are known to be fickle. They change their mind very quickly. And I think the signs that we are witnessing today in terms of, the little eruptions taking here and there, including what happened today, is a wake-up call, and we'll very soon realize how far this goes.
Electorate only changes its mind once in 5 years. Are you saying you will change the electorate's mind by bringing in 356?
No, hold on. 356 has not been used by us. The Congress government, which did all manner of things, they were in office 10 times the space that we have been, they were merrily dismissing state government. We've never used 356. We could, in several cases, we had the option of doing it, but it's a democratic ethos that prevails in Delhi.
Well, Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri, one last message that you'd want to give the audience here?
This is a good channel. Keep supporting them. But at the end of the day, this is an English-speaking channel, and English as a language is not spoken by too many people. I believe they have now a Hindi-speaking channel. What do you call it? Times Now. Navbharat. I think that will be an even better channel. So, best of luck. And all I can say is, I'm very often asked, is there a tension between people in politics and the press? I said, don't believe it. One needs the other. And if any one of them pretends they don't need the other, that's a lot of you-know-what. So all I can tell you is best of luck, but don't be harsh on the guys who have a more difficult job to do. And anytime you want to exchange jobs, Navika, you and
I'm not interested in yours.
Your corporate...
I'm not interested in yours. You just heard what politicians are called and what their definition is.
Politicians can
I'm
be called
very happy
anything.
where I am.
But I'll tell you... No, I know
Sedition included.
No,
Navika,
I'm not serious about changing jobs because I'm too old to do yours. But all I can tell you is, I think the democratic discourse works with greater harmony when the press and the other members of the system, that ecosystem, learn to appreciate the other's point of view.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri. And if you thought that the Modi Sarkar was a very, very tough cookie and a hard-speaking Sarkar, then Hardeep Singh Puri is certainly a pleasant deviation. You can actually say anything to him, get away with it, and he responds back because he has what they say is a sense of humor. Thank you very much for joining us on this session. Thank you.
Let's give him a huge round of applause. Thank you so much, Navika, for joining us.